How you doing, folks? You're watching Onward with Onrie Live. I'm your host, Onrie Kompan, and this week I got an awesome guest for you guys. His name is Chuck Pineau. He's a wonderful guy. We've met each other on the front lines of comic conventions, and he's a writer and editor like myself. And as we've been going through this whole quarantine phase in our lives, I've been talking to numerous creators. And the ones that I've asked to come on the show are the ones that give me the most insight, because I feel that there is so much that they can pass on to you as well. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Chuck Pineau. Chuck.
What's going on?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm all right, but now I feel like I gotta live up to that intro. That was good. Thank you.
Oh, really? I just totally pulled it out of my ass. I'm sorry.
No, dude, that was sweet, man. I have information to give. Oh, geez.
Well, speaking of information, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're writing? What are you up to? What are you writing? What are you doing?
Okay. So I'm. It's funny. When I got into the business, it was all about writing. I wanted to do my own project.
Oh, no. Sorry. I tried to give you the spotlight. Instead, it comes on my dumb ass.
Great.
Sorry. Go ahead, brother.
This is the fun part about going live. Yeah, when I got into things, it was to write and do my own projects. And I realized I didn't have a name. So, my name didn't mean anything to anybody. And so I edited and I worked on other people's projects, and I found myself falling in love with it and just really enjoying it. And so right now, that's most of what I do is edit and work on other people's projects. I have my own. I have Welcome to the Void, this bad boy right here. I have BELIAL, and then I have our audio drama Essence House that I'm working on. But mostly I'm editing, working on other people's projects.
That is fucking awesome. Yeah, I've been taking on more of an editorial hat as well, because I absolutely love helping creators find their path with what they're trying to do. And when you have that sense of of helping them establish what they're trying to do more clearly, it really it's so much fun. It's such a challenge, And to be honest with you, I dabbled in it a bit prior to all this happening, because I was always so busy working on Eastern Shin and going to conventions and, applying everything that I learned to the actual production of the book. But, ever since this happened, and, now that conventions are kind of put on hold for the minute, I decided to kind of look into that more. So this is your full-time thing. As you're an editor and you're a writer too, but I mean, so what kind of brought you into the whole editorial spotlight? What is it that really kind of made you feel like you said, people don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And you fell into editing, and editors kind of they're like that, you're like the second in command. That's the way I see it. There's the visionary, the publisher, writer, creator, and then there's the editor. And I believe editors do not get enough credit for what they do. So if you could, please tell me, what do you consider, how did you get into this? How did you figure out that, what was your aha moment with editing? And, what is it that you consider to be the most important aspect of editing? Oh,
wow. So for me, I mean, it was, again, I had worked with someone else and we were launching a project, and I realized that we didn't have any names. Our name didn't mean anything, and we were just going to be selling to friends. And, at the time I was nearing 40, I think I was 37 or so. And I was just like, you know what? No, if I'm going to do this, I want to take this seriously. And so I, was adding lots of people on Facebook and meeting new creators and all that kind of stuff. And one of the people I met was Rob Anderson. And Rob put out a call. He said, I'm putting out a new book and I need an editor. It's going to be for exposure, though. So I would prefer someone who is new, who was okay with that. And I jumped on it. I said, yeah, I'll jump on it. I'll do it. He said, well, it's for nothing. I said, I don't care. That's fine. So we did that. It went really well. We enjoyed ourselves. And actually, the book went so well that he ended up paying me after the fact. He said, man, you did a really good job. I really appreciate what you did. Thank you so much. And I got a paycheck out of it. And then I've worked on pretty much everything that he's done since. and now a lot of other people. And so for me, comic editing, there's so much that goes into it. And they're like, if you ask someone to be your editor, our first question is going to be, well, what do you need? Because, there's like, do you want me on pre-script? Do you want me, helping you with your voices? Do you want me working on your script work? Do you need me for proofing? Do you need me for art direction? Like you want me to looking at your lettering? Like, what do you want? I find with indies, luckily, they want all of it. Like they want all of it. So I just make a combo package. I'm like, this is what I'm worth. This is what I'll do for a book. And let's do that. So I tend to just kind of jump on and add my wisdom wherever I can. And a lot of that, the thing is when you get started editing, you don't know anything. Like you know a little bit. Like story has always been my thing, and understanding how story works and where the pieces fit and everything and what's going to look good. That's always been my main thing. But a lot of it has been I picked up a mentor and I've researched and I've looked into things and I've read. And so a lot of it's just learning,
Absolutely. So I love what you said there, because I've been taking on a lot of indie projects too, because those are more fun. It's like I've had opportunities to work at bigger publishers, and I've worked with some. And the thing is like you're on such a deadline and you have such a constriction, and you need to have so much like backup knowledge. Not to say that there's anything wrong with, working for mainstream, but when you're working with indie, there's almost like a little bit more freedom, and there's like respect, like what you're talking about, like with Rob. And Rob's a very honorable guy, like from my interactions with him, he's very honest, and he's a splendid guy. He's had me on his virtual cons and as a guest panelist a couple times, and it's been great. And I just, if I see something, he throws it out there and I'm like, cool, I want to do this. So that's really how you got your start. And you're right about what you said about editing. I mean, it really is just like there's so many different things, and I don't think you can do one without the other. I think that if you're going to edit something, you have to pay attention to all those things. Yeah. And, but of course you're kind of like, you're a Ronin, you're going from one project to another. Right. And when it comes to that, you do need to make sure that you're meeting the expectations of the person who is hiring you to do your job. So I definitely think it's a great way to come in, because, some people may not want you to touch their art direction. It's kind of hard to get hired as an editor too, because it's like, you have to come in and criticize, like,
I don't think it's the criticizing that's really the issue necessarily. I think the big thing is that so many people are under the misunderstanding that editing is just proofreading. And it's like, no, or it's either editing is proofreading and I can get my aunt to do that, or whomever. Or I know my story, I don't need you. Like, you're just going to tell me how to do it. No, you don't get it. You write the check. Everything I say is just a suggestion.
That's exactly, dude. I agree with that.
Yeah,
100%. It's absolutely like there's a job I'm working on right now where the creator he knew his book lacked something that it needed in order to have punch, and he brought me on. And he's like, read these books. Let me know what you think. And so I read them, and I told him what I felt needed to be done. And it's all great. The art's fine and everything. Like, you don't want to come in there and just start telling people, well, the artwork is drawn badly. Like, this guy's head's too big, because I think unless it's really amateurish, at which point, you kind of have to make a call yourself. Like, do I actually want to be involved with this? But at the same time, it's like, why not? If you can help them, maybe it's their vision to have weird looking heads in their books, and you kind of try and steer them in the best direction you can, while giving them the service that they need in order to be happy with the end result.
Yeah, and it really, like, they need you for what they need you for, and you can offer up some advice. Like, there's been times where I'm like, you sent me a page and I just, I'm noticing this. And they'll either take it or they won't. And then I've had other people, like I had this one woman who came to me and she's like, I want you for all of it. And I said, well, but you're an artist. Like, this is what you do. And she's like, no, I want you to be on my ass. And I was like, okay, like if you're sure. And so I was, And I remember there was this one point that was kind of funny. I said, hey, what's with this dude? Does he change his size all the time? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, in the first panel at the top of the page, he's up to this woman's shoulder. And then at the second one, he's almost staring at, or at the last panel, he's staring at her crotch. And she was like, oh, cool. Thank you so much. I didn't even think about that.
That says volumes about the artist, because a lot of artists, a lot of creators, they're so, they spend so much time working on stuff. And I draw layouts for Issun Shin, so I know exactly what that's like. And my art sucks. I can openly admit that. The only thing I'm good at drawing is fucking tits and dicks. I'm good at that, but everything else I suck at.
Is that what you practice the most at? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I've been trying to get more like boobs in there than anything, because like I started to kind of see a problem if I drew too many dicks, So I tried to transition over,
I get that.
It's like drawing two eyes and, just I try and stare at them, critique, and do everything. Yeah. But like, I think that says a lot about your artist, because to be honest with you, that's exactly what happened with me when I hired David Anthony Kraft to edit and co-write Issun Shin with me, because he started out as an editor and as the editor of the book. And then I asked him to be the co-writer because we were brainstorming so much that it almost felt like that was the right thing to do. But, that was my initiative to offer that. It was also my initiative to bring someone on board to whip my ass and get me in shape, because that's how you learn. You don't learn by having everybody stroke your ego all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I did Welcome to the Void, I was very excited by it. It was my first book. I sent it out and I got a bad review. And I feel like that reviewer was another level of dick. Like there was a level that there was certainly some stuff that I did need to hear and that I did understand, but then like he took it to a whole other level. And I'm like, yeah, that didn't, that stuff didn't. So it really showed me what I wanted out of an editor, what I wanted out of, even when I do my own reviews for Chuck's Raw Reviews, like how I want to approach things. Cause he got picky to this level where it's like, dude, man, you understand we're putting these books out a lot and it's not going to be perfect, and things are going to happen, and that's like a whole other level. But there was also some fundamental things that I could fix and work on, and that all made sense. So even a bad review can teach you a lot and you can learn from it. So even, and same with a bad editor, like if someone comes in and they're a total dick, you're like, cool, I don't want that. I'm not going to work well with
I'm not going to be that person. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. When I had a day job and prior to getting into comics full time, and my boss from my day job, he taught me a tremendous amount of things, but he was also an asshole, like a giant asshole. And I decided like, I'm going to be hard on the people I work with, but I'm not going to make them hate me and not want to work with me. If I'm gonna push them, and so maybe sometimes I might get frustrated that I want so many things from them, but it's only because at the end of the day, I'm the one writing the checks and I'm the one who's got to put it out there. And if I'm working for somebody else, they're writing the checks and I understand exactly where they're coming from, and I don't want to give them something that they won't be happy with. But it's interesting what you were saying about reviews, because I've had my share of good reviews as well as bad reviews. And the bad reviews I get tend to be someone who wanted the exact opposite of what we intended to deliver. Like there was this one guy, I met him at Kansas City for Planet Comic-Con. And I sold him all 8 books. He was so excited. Like he was like, I'm really into Korean history. I can't wait to read this. And I'm like, that guy's going to love his books. Well, sure enough, a couple weeks went by. And not only did he post a picture of himself holding the books, but then he had like this huge review about how horrible it was because there wasn't enough politics. There was too much action and battles and, a Korean admiral fighting the Japanese. We need more talking heads, pages and pages of people talking, and more politics. And he spelled this wrong and he did that wrong. Well, at the end of the day, it's just like people are going to have their opinions, and they can't truly understand. Not everybody's going to understand what you're trying to do with your work, it was just kind of that situation. But then, of course, my reaction is like what you have initially, which was, this guy took it to another level, which he kind of did. I mean, he was just like, no one should read this book. When they say shit like that, it's just like, fuck you. You don't have to like it. Don't tell other people that no one is allowed to read this or something like that. You know, like, I totally get where you're coming from with that.
See, it's funny because I have a personal way that I feel a review should be conducted. And actually, Tyler Carpenter, shout outs to him and Drawn Talk on YouTube. He did a review for a book and he said, he doesn't swear, but he fucking hated this book. It was like gore, horror, brutal. But he gave it like a 9 out of 10.
Now, why did he do that?
It's because he had these certain criteria. And so as much as he, as a fan, read the book and fucking hated it, he was like, the art was great. The story, you know, was solid. The writing was there. Everything was there. I just didn't like it. And when I do my reviews, I now try to take on that aspect. I'm not reviewing it for me. I already read the fucking thing. Whether I liked it or not doesn't even matter. You know, so really is who will like it and will they like it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're doing reviews, you don't know who's going to come across it.
Yeah.
So when you are doing reviews, it's better to find something positive to say. And, you know, that's typically what I try and do whenever I come across creators at conventions. I try and find one positive thing to encourage them because, you know what? We all started out there. We didn't know shit when we first started. And if someone didn't guide us and tell us, you know what, if you try and apply things this way, you know, or tell me what positive thing, because there is something positive in everything. So it may not, as a whole package, it may not come together, but there are certainly positives in everything that you can work off of in order to, you know, encourage people to keep up what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think the worst I ever got was a guy said to me, he goes, well, I want to give you some positive feedback, something. And I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah. What's up? And he goes, you finished it. Good for you. And I was like, that's your butt.
That's cool.
Yeah. Right? You know what though? At the time I was like, fuck you, man. Like, yes, I finished it. You can't find anything else? You can't talk about the coloring or the anything else? Yeah, man. It's funny. But when I do a review, I try to it's all about finding the audience, finding who's going to enjoy it, who will be the ones to want to pick it up. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've picked up a book and I've been like, look, it's manga. Manga's not necessarily my thing, especially when I'm reading it, you know, kind of backwards. I never really got into it either, if I'm being honest. Like, it's not that I don't like it. I like there are a lot of animes I like, and I just I find the style to be very decompressed. Like, there's not enough writing and there's not enough like carrying the story forward for me. But that doesn't mean that it's bad or that the concepts suck. The concepts are really great, but they just drag on for like hundreds and hundreds of issues. And some people really love that. They love that they could tear through these things in like 10 minutes and like get like satisfaction out of them. And I see nothing wrong with that. You know, like, you know, Sin City, you know, the first volume of that takes like, you know, maybe an hour to read, you know, and you're, you know, flipping through pages, but you finish it and you're like, damn, that was so great. And you realize that you loved it so much that you blew right through it. So, you know, I think there's something to be said about that. But I also think, going back, that there's something to be said about that compliment that guy gave you, which is that you finished it, because I think that's a big aspect that a lot of people seem to overlook, especially us, because we're constantly putting out stuff. Yes, we are finishing. We've proven that we can actually finish a product that it's like, you know, you almost kind of take it as like, duh, yeah, I finished it, motherfucker. Otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here, you know? But at the same time, that's something in and of itself, is like, you're not that guy anymore saying, hey, I want to write a book. You're the guy who's now got a book. And it doesn't matter if it's the greatest thing in the world or if it's a piece of shit. It's something, you know what I mean? But I understand how you feel too, because it's like, how about you find something actually constructive some constructive thing to tell me? But, you know, this is an interesting segue, because one of the reasons why I asked you to come on the show was you're a father of how many kids? 3? 3, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I got 2 and it feels like fucking way too goddamn much, especially now with this fucking quarantine shit. I gotta homeschool my kid. I have no idea what the fuck I am doing. I am totally fucking up everything.
How old
like,
is your kid?
He's 7, but like, you know, I'll tell you why I feel like I'm fucking up. I feel like I'm fucking up because Hey, I know all the material. He's in second grade. It's not like, I know what 2 + 2 is. And I mean, they're doing more complicated stuff than that now, but I know all the basic stuff, but the thing is it's the actual engagement that's really, really hard, because they have this curriculum, which is just kind of weak right now. I think they're trying to work on making it more applicable to engaging with the teachers and things like that. But like, his teacher is not involved at all right now. And I'm basically going through everything and making sure he does the work. And I have to restrain myself from losing patience with him, because he loses his attention span is just like, he'll do like one thing and then I'll ask him to do something. He'll be like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm like, you motherfucker. If you were in school right now, you would not be fucking saying that to your teacher. You fucking do this right now. And I don't drop the F-bomb as much in front of him.
You're right.
I do call him an asshole though.
So kids are little assholes.
Oh, they totally are. But you're okay. So you're a dad.
Yeah.
And you're also an editor and writer.
Yeah.
And you're also in the same situation as me.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? How are you handling this?
Okay. No, we're good.
I want to put you there.
I'm still in the show.
Yeah.
You didn't kick me out.
I didn't kick you out. Sorry.
So, you know what? Treat it like a comic. You have a deadline. So I want it done by this time. And if you get it done at this time, you get this. So, I mean, with a creator, you don't need to put the carrot in front of them. But with a kid, you might. So my suggestion would be like, okay, look, this should not take you that long. Give them a little bit of extra time to hum and haw or whatever, but just be like, hey, so you have half an hour to get this worksheet done. And when it's done, why don't you and I go play some Minecraft? Or why don't you go, like you have 20 minutes of free time or whatever. Maybe space out their learning a little bit. And instead of just trying to pile it on, we have the advantage that you don't need to just sit down and teach them in this chunk of time. Give them smaller chunks. Make it a little easier for them to eat it up and take care of it and whatnot, and give them, some kind of reward. And it doesn't need to be like, I'll buy you a treat or I'll get you a candy or something, but even just something like, you get some free time. You can go play this game. You can do that, I think those things would help a lot. And that's kind of what I've been doing with my kiddos.
Mm-hmm. I find that to be interesting because, one thing I remember you were telling me too when we were talking on Facebook is, you started teaching them how to make comics. And so I started that too, because I never really had time to do it. Like I'm always on the road, and, I taught my kid how to sell comics when he came to conventions with me, but I also don't want to be that dad who kind of forces him down a certain path and stuff. Like I want him to learn sales mainly because it's going to help him no matter what he does,
Mm-hmm.
But the actual skill of comics is something that I want him to have. If he has a genuine love for it, I will teach it to him. But I don't want to be like, I did comics, so therefore you must do comics.
Yeah.
He's got to figure out what he's going to be, because, I think that's a really important aspect of it. But I'm glad I took your advice, because he really got into it. And You were mentioning Minecraft. Are your kids into Roblox too?
Yes. Yeah. Huge. And all of them have been into Roblox.
Yeah. Are you into this shit? Because I can't get into it. Like Minecraft, I'm like, he's like, Dad, I want to play with you. And I'm like, all right. And then I'll jump in with him and he fucking disappears. I'm like, dude, you're not even on the same map as me anymore. What the fuck? I'm like, I'm going to play my game. You play your game, and we'll kindly just, be together, but not together. You know what I mean?
For me, my problem is that when I play games, I either want to go kill a bunch of motherfuckers or I want to be engrossed in a story.
Yes.
And guess what? This doesn't have either of those really.
No, it doesn't.
That. And so I'm like, what am I doing? You're going to build a house. Why? Anywhere else I've played, the house is already fucking built. I get to break them. Oh, no. You get to build stuff and make cool things. I don't.
Dude, I was talking with my buddy the other day. We've been gamers since NES, and fucking we're like, I was like telling him like, yeah, dude, if we were growing up now, we'd think this was cool. And he's like, no, we wouldn't. And I'm like, yeah, we would. And he's like, no, dude, when we were growing up, we had games like Contra, we had games like Mario, Castlevania, all this shit where you were going around killing shit. Now it seems like it's changed. Now Roblox I know has like more of a Grand Theft Auto type of feel to it. It's just like a bunch of games. So there's like this cops and robbers game. There's games where you can like run away from scary things and stuff like that.
So you can do that in Minecraft as well.
Oh, you can. Okay, I didn't know that.
You can do that. Yeah, you can do that.
I should know that by now, but like whenever he's telling me about Minecraft, I'm just like, oh my god! I'm
sure it's the same as when you talk to your wife and you're like, all right, cool. So I read this book recently, and she's like, yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah, my wife does not. She does not find anything that comes out of my mouth to be interesting, unless it's gossip. Unless I got gossip, then she's all over. It's like, what? What did you hear about it? And I typically hate gossiping, especially in a professional environment, because it's like, and that's why I'm very selective about, like who I kind of like surround myself with, because people, I just don't like people saying bad things about other people. Yeah, there's assholes out there, and I know who I think is an asshole, but I don't agree with the whole idea of like calling them out or shutting them out. Like this is a small ass industry, and if we're working indie, we've already been kind of kicked to the curb already, by everybody else. So it's like, it's one of those things where we have to kind of stick together, and it's especially now with what's going on. I think it's even more so the case.
Yeah, and you can see the ones who are flourishing and the ones who are floundering. You know what I mean? Like you can see the ones who genuinely care and are trying to make it happen, and you can see the ones who are faking it.
Absolutely.
And you can tell because like they'll do things you'll be like, really? Like that's how you think this should be? You need to be watching more streams. You need to be watching more people because, as some people look, these online conventions and stuff, they're not what we're used to doing at all. It's a total.
Oh no, dude, it totally is. And I haven't seen a single sale from it. And the thing is I knew early on I wouldn't, because my digital sales or my online sales, they're not anywhere near what my convention sales are. So I've accepted the fact that until this quarantine lets up, I'm not going to be selling books. I have to change what I'm doing completely. You have to transform it. It's adapt or die kind of a thing.
Yeah. And
I just decided, like, look, if I'm going to come on and do these things, I'm just going to have fun with it. And that was kind of like the whole idea of having Onward with Onrie Live is, just shoot the shit with creators, and just like talk and, do whatever, and not necessarily keep it on a point of like answering questions, which is another reason why I didn't really like ask a lot of creators like to bombard you with questions, which I'm sure you would be happy to answer. But like part of it is also kind of like just allowing the conversation to take on its own form. And, that's how you learn things, in my opinion, rather than just saying like, please answer me. How many pairs of underwear do you go through a week? It's like, while you're editing a script, how many times, do you get up to, drink water? You bring me to another point too. I was talking to this, like with how people conduct themselves, going back to that topic. I recently parted ways with somebody who had a very huge influence on my life. And I caught him doing something that was very, very wrong. And I realized in that very moment that this person did not have my best interests in mind. And so I distanced myself. And then he started to approach me. And I tried to play it off like it wasn't, like nothing was wrong. And he shut himself out. He got all angry and shut me out. And I thought, well, he just did the work for me. It's like I didn't have to say anything to him. I didn't have to do anything. He went and did it,
Yeah. I mean, that's a way to handle it. But I almost want to be straight with him. You know what I mean? And that's tough. Like even for me, I don't like to. I'm really bad at confrontation, which is funny. Like I'm an editor, but
so am I. I hate confrontation.
I know, right? But what you find about editing very early is that most of the people you work with, if they went to the level of writing a check for you, they're serious enough that they want to take your stuff seriously. But a friendship we haven't written a check for friendship. You know what I mean? That hasn't happened so much.
Well, actually, Ted Sikora He buys me dinner all the time at conventions, so he does have to technically cut a check for that.
And he owes you a little bit, doesn't he? He's like, dude, that sushi the other night was bomb. So
oh, dude,
yeah,
I've done that shit to him. I have done that shit to him, but it always works out. I purposely have him buy me dinner because, like, it's just funny. We've been sharing rooms and stuff when we go to conventions. But going on with what you were saying about, there's no checks for friendships. Let's not get off point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
right?
of me. Sorry.
No, but it's true. Like, and so, you have to, you don't have to do anything. But for me, I want to try to give them the chance to see it from my point of view and just be like, hey, dude, this is where I'm at, and this is how I feel. I get it. I've done the kind of distancing thing. And at that point, it's like, you're kind of at fault too. Like, you have to admit that you had a chance to try to fix it and you didn't. And I mean, I think a lot of us have done that. It's also about, kind of looking at the relationship and going, do I even want to save this? Like, do I feel like there's anything that I can do to make this better, or even would it be better if we, can we ever go back? So I guess there's a lot of factors. Even as I sit and ruminate on it, it really all depends. So I'm kind of backpedaling a little bit on that one.
No, I find what you're saying to be interesting, and I'd like to actually add to it if it's okay.
Yeah. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. The thing is that you there's some people, like, when you're in this field, it's like you're so, like, honed in. Like, when I get on the fucking convention floor, it's like I'm looking at the time, I'm looking at what my goals are and objectives are, and I'm fucking honed in on pitching people. And sometimes my neighbors might think that I'm being abrasive because I'm ignoring them. I'm looking over them, and I try not to be purposely ignoring them. It's not like it's anything personal, like fuck you. I'm trying to make sure that if you're my neighbor and I'm if I'm in an inline, that A, I don't steal a sale from you, and B, that the person that I'm engaging is interested in what I want to tell them, in my pitch. And I have to be alert in order to do that. So, and it oddly enough, it gets them to kind of do the same thing. And most of the time they understand because they're there to do the same thing. They want to make sales. But it's
funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because the first show I ever did was Alamo City Comic Con, where I met you.
Oh, really? Which one?
Yeah.
Was it the 2018 show?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. That is where we met. I remember that. Yeah. Okay. Because I've done that show a couple of years. Yeah.
Okay. So that was the first show I ever did. And I was so excited to meet you because it was like, I'm meeting a Facebook friend. I'm meeting someone who is doing this. And like, I'm actually finally able to make that connection from internet to person. And there was another person who was a friend who I knew online, and now I was meeting in person. And it's so funny that the two of you are so opposite. I met you, and you were very much like business, and you were trying to get shit done, and I was a little thrown off because I really
apologize. I sincerely apologize for that.
Because I learned so much from that. So please don't apologize for that. Really, I wish that I had hung out with you after the show, because that's the time to do it.
Yeah,
during the show, it's like you're trying to get shit done, and that put a work ethic into me. And that taught me, whereas I remember at that same show, there was this one dude, and he told me right away, like, I've driven from far away, and my wife's going to kill me. I don't think it's going to go well. And even day one, I'm like, you're already shitting on yourself, man.
Absolutely. You cannot fucking do that. Yeah.
At one point, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go over there, and I might just buy something and really kind of like, kind of
give him a shot in the arm. Yeah. How'd that go?
I walked over to his booth. He has very much like a lot of like stickers and kid stuff. And he has kids, like 3 kids looking at his stuff. And he's turned around chatting with the dude behind him. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck you.
Yes.
Fuck you. You don't get to bitch.
Yes. When you're not engaging. I agree. I agree.
You got fish on your fucking line.
Yeah.
So you taught me that I need to, when we're out there, you're on the clock, fucking make it happen. There's time for networking, and you can make that time. And so at the time, I wasn't as happy to learn that and as gratified. But now looking back, I'm like, no, Onrie really taught me a lesson, and he really showed me that my time there, you only have those 8, 10, whatever hours to fucking do it. You don't get to, but afterwards I can network. I can still sell books afterwards.
Sure.
But during that time, that's all you can do.
I'm usually pretty pooped after the end of the day. And I've learned early on, not like, because I had an experience where I went to this after party at C2E2. It was right after I released my first trade. And I'm at the bar and where everybody is, and it's like you got all the big execs from all the big publishers are there. And here's Scott Snyder, and I'm putting my book in his hand and trying to pitch it, and it felt wrong. It just felt like, you know what? Don't make it about, you got to step away from this. When you're out networking, talk to people and really listen to what they have to say. And if they ask you about your work, by all means, you can tell them about it. But save the action for the floor. That's always been my philosophy. And I'm really honored to hear that because, being away from all this and being quarantined, I'm sure a lot of creators feel like this. We kind of feel like, all right, our wings have been clipped. What good are we? And it's very reassuring to hear that. And I'm glad that, I gave you that motivation, but, the fact that you are actually out there looking for that motivation is already says a tremendous amount about you, because people can take that any way they want. Some people can look at what they do and think that I'm a fucking, what is it? What's the popular term that they say? Not a huckster, but the the carnival bunker, Yeah. And I find that to be, there are definitely people like that, but I've met a lot of like-minded individuals, especially lately with what's going on. Like I was on a panel through Rob on Tuesday, and I met this dude, Mike Watson. Okay. He's got a lot. He pitched 6 books in 2 minutes. I was like, damn, that's really impressive. He had a lot of energy. He came on there and he's like, I got so much energy. I'll challenge anybody who's out there. And, everybody was kind of like expecting me to say something. So I said to him, I'm like, it's great that you have so much energy. More people should have energy on the floor when they're pitching their stuff, because there's enough money for all of us. And if we all have energy and we all come in there and we're engaged, it's not that I'm looking at the clock or looking at the dollars that I get in. What I'm looking for is those connections with the readers, And I think that's a really important aspect of what we're doing.
Well, and afterwards, you don't need to sell the book. You need to sell this.
Yes, you need to sell this shit right here. And I see you got the beard going and the shaved head and everything. Looking good, brother. Looking good.
This was my Britney Spears moment.
Yeah, right on.
I was at home. I've been self-quarantined since very early in March. And my wife works in groceries, so she's out there in everybody's face. And so I just kind of tried to be the one guy who's like, I can do this. I don't need to be out there, so I'm just going to do it naturally. And I'm very, and I think you and I are the same way, very personable, love people. And it got to me. So I just went, I need one moment of crazy. One moment just to do something fucking nuts. And I've never shaved my head in my life. And so I shaved it all.
I lost my virginity after I shaved my head for the first time. I'm not kidding. I really did. Like it was just 25 years and finally,
So are you like the exact opposite of Samson, where you're like, if I grew up my hair, I'd get none?
Yeah, dude. I kid you not. Who I was like before I got into comics and who I am now, it's just totally night and day. I hear that a lot. I was very shy, very timid, and wasn't very sure of myself. But I wanted to ask you about your wife. So your wife works in grocery.
Yeah.
And is she quarantined from you and the kids right now?
No.
There's no. Okay. All right. But still, she's out there every day,
yeah.
And so you're carrying the burden pretty much of like being with the kids and being at home and taking care of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not easy. My wife's at home working, and she's right now, she's the breadwinner. She's always the breadwinner. But
yeah,
anyway.
My wife's been the breadwinner since we came down to America. Yeah.
Yeah. Since you guys came to America, where did you guys come from originally?
I'm Canadian. I'm from Canada.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, yeah, we came from Africa. Okay,
yeah,
you're
right?
Canadian.
No. I was born and raised in Canada. Wendy is from Texas, and we met online on an online role-playing game.
That's awesome.
We fell in love in '99, and she was going through a rough divorce and stuff, and she said, you know what? He's taking the kids, and I got nothing. Do you want to get together and see what happens? And she came up there and just never left. We just fell in love, and we've been together ever since. We've been together for 20 years. And after about 12 years up there, the chemical factory that I worked for went under. We got a bunch of money all at once. And she said, do you want to move to Texas? And I said, fuck winter. Let's do it. And so we've been down here ever since.
Interesting. Now we're talking about Texas, where you are currently, where the weather is hot, and everybody says, well, the hot weather kills the virus. How has it been? Has it been spreading out there, or is it just more like you're dealing with dumbasses who think they're on vacation and like are outside? And overall, what's your take on this? So shit?
We don't have it that bad. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Texas is huge and really spread out. But I'll tell you, we have a lot of people who aren't taking it seriously. I live in a small tourist town, and we noticed right away when this stuff happened, people from Austin, Houston, Dallas, a lot of big cities that are infected, they came down here, and they started vacationing. I took my kids for a ride just last Saturday. We're just going to drive in the car, windows down, get some fresh air, maybe walk down a trail or something, but we're going to be away from everybody. And there was nowhere to go.
Because everything was packed.
Everything, my wife's store, they should have done really, really good at the beginning and then kind of trailed off. But no, every day is record numbers. And that's because we have all these people. It's basically summer for us now. We have all these people here. All of our boat ramps are full. Everybody's out there enjoying the sun, buying, sunscreen and flip-flops and swim gear and shit. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Why are you not quarantined? Oh, well, this is us quarantining. We're quarantining, No, you're not quarantining. You're bringing that shit to us, motherfucker. Like, this is bullshit.
You may have caught it before you got here. Yeah.
Yeah. I even said, look, if one of you motherfuckers, and there's like thousands of people who are here, but if one of you are asymptomatic, that's it.
Yeah, that's all it takes. And everybody's got pre-existing conditions. Not everybody's got well, we all have pre-existing conditions because we all exist. So previously, but the whole point is that there may be things you don't know about. But the way I look at this virus is, I honestly think I got it at the end of January because I had all the symptoms of it. My wife is constantly challenging. Yeah. Well, I felt it. I had a dry cough. I felt like absolute garbage, and like everybody told me it wasn't COVID, and I'm like reading online, and I'm like, I have the exact same symptoms. So I think I'm immune to it personally, but I don't know for sure because I haven't been tested and all this stuff. I'd like to get tested so then I can just be like, I'm going grocery shopping. I can't carry this shit anymore. Fuck y'all.
But I think the problem is it's mutating. I don't think it works like that.
Oh, really? I thought that's.
I don't 100%.
I don't think anybody knows shit, man.
Yeah, but with
the CDC needs us to come in as editors and fucking fix that shit up. That narrative is.
You need to get a point. You need to understand what is your message here, and let's.
Yes, it very much is a story. They're all selling us fucking stories. Please, every goddamn news article you read is a fucking story. It's got a beginning, middle, and end. We're fucked. We're really fucked, and soon we'll be super fucked.
What kind of music do you like to listen to?
To be honest with you, I'm always embarrassed to say it. I listen to like musical scores. Like when I'm on convention floors, I have my wireless earbuds, and people are like, wow, you must be conducting business over the phone or something. No, I got fucking different songs. I'm listening to the For Honor soundtrack. because I like the Viking music shit, and it just pumps me up. God of War.
No, I think that's cool. So
yeah.
I'm
what
a
are
metal.
you into?
I'm a metal guy.
I like metal too. So yeah.
So Rammstein, the lead singer, they found out he was in the hospital, and right away everyone's like, he's in the hospital, he has COVID, blah blah blah. And I was like, oh shit. And the very next day, his camp came out and said, no, he's in hospital, he is sick, he should be fine, he does not have COVID, like fuck off. And so the issue is that anyone who's sick or anyone who dies now, they have it. It's like no, do they, don't they? Like let's be honest about this. And I know some people have passed away because of it, and that sucks, but we don't need to add fucking cases. This is bad enough on its own.
I agree. And you know, there was locally, it's been kind of hitting me, and it's even my sister's husband, his uncle died this week from COVID-19. But from what I understand, he was diabetic, he had pneumonia, and this was it was a perfect storm. And I think and I have a 92-year-old grandmother that is perfectly healthy and has all her original teeth and everything in mint condition. CGC would give him a 10.0 grading. You know, but
we gotta slap that lady.
Oh, I want to, you know, and because it'd be worth a lot of money. But
right? Get her signed.
Well, that's how she treats her apartment, and she hasn't left. I mean, she's been in isolation, but she's always taken a lot of care in her apartment, you know, and we all do that kind of a thing. But in some way, if it's not our apartments, it's something else. But you know, so I do worry about it from that aspect. But I'm not seeing her, and the other people I'm worried about are my in-laws who live with us pretty much. And you know, I have a father-in-law who's got diabetes. My mother-in-law's got some past heart issues. So I definitely don't want to pass this shit on to them. Me personally, I'm in excellent peak condition health. Even if I got this thing and they told me I was going to die from it, I would fucking kick its ass. I would fight to the last breath. And I think that's what a lot of this has to do with, is not giving into fear, but keeping your immune system strong, exercising, drinking lots of water, keeping your mind busy, most importantly, and staying busy and working and doing stuff. And I really like what you had to say about, you know, giving your kids a little bit more freedom within their schedule. And I know I only have like one more day of me actually standing over him while he's being taught, because I think next week they're switching over to a new system where he'll be engaging his teachers slightly more, and he will kind of have a bit more structure. But I like what you said there, because it's like part of the reason why I get so frustrated is because I want to get done with everything so that like he can have his time and I can have my time to do what I need to do. But at the same time, giving them that, breaking it up a little bit for them is also not a bad idea, because it gives them a chance to not feel so entrapped in the situation. And this is fucked up shit, man, you know?
Yeah, but it's for you too.
Yes.
Because you're trapped in that situation as they are. Because in your head, you're like, fuck, I can't get onto my shit until you're fucking done this.
Yes.
So at least at that point, you can be like, look, when you're done this, we both get a break. You won't have to deal with my ass. I'll go, you know, bang out a couple pages or something. You'll go do whatever you want to do, and then we'll meet and we'll do this again, you know? So it's as much for you as it is for them.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing I've also been doing too is I find myself feeling very unproductive throughout the week until I get to the end of the week and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I did this, this, and this, and this. And that's I think a very important aspect of that. But one thing I've been doing that really made me happy yesterday, and I didn't even realize, because I was down in the dumps yesterday, bro. I felt like fucking shit. I did not want to like get out of bed. It was that bad, because I miss my life. I want to go. I miss being able to just go wherever the fuck I wanted to go without anybody like standing over my shoulder and being like, oh, you don't want to bring the shit back home. You know, you don't want to like go out there and, you know, worrying about what's outside. Because I haven't been outside of my neighborhood. Like, there's only 3 places I go to right now: my house, my warehouse where I store my books, and my parents' house, which is where I record. Because if I was to do this at home, I would have kids running around and everything. So my parents live only like 3 minutes away from me. But point is like, you know, we're going through all this whole, like this change, and it's important to have some self-care. And one thing I did yesterday was I decided to cook myself a meal from scratch. And I spent all this time just doing it. And it was so therapeutic. And then afterwards, I felt better. I don't know why. I just felt good that I did this.
So I'm a cook. Like, I was a cook for about 20 years. So what did you make?
I made turkey. You know, do you ever go to what is it?
Probably not.
No. It's a well-known place. It's the popular Asian place. Fuck. Why am I forgetting it?
Panda Express or something?
No, not Panda Express. It's a sit-down place, but they got a big chain. It's like the fine dining Asian food. Fuck. Not
Okay.
Pacific Rim. It's something else. Not Pacific Bistro. Something along those lines.
Okay. I definitely haven't been, but so what'd you make?
Okay, so I made there's chicken lettuce wraps, so I made turkey lettuce wraps. I got ground turkey and then I got water chestnuts and green onions and got everything, mixed it all together. I had I don't use soy sauce. I use like that amino thing that's like an alternative to it. Tastes the same, much less sodium or something like that. I don't fucking know. But then I just made it the way I wanted to make it, and I was really pleased with the way it turned out. And then I took I got like this frozen mixed vegetables from Costco, boiled those up and mixed them with some sesame oil and sesame seeds and some salt and pepper, and I was happy.
And that shit is so important. Like the other day I did the same thing. I did a stir fry with some egg noodles, and then I had some grilled chicken and stuff. And then I had gone out to the store, and they had wanted some drinks for the kids. And the thing is, like, a lot of the juices they can't do and whatnot. So I was just like, screw it, I'm gonna get some pops. So I got they have this local store. It's 4 of the 12 packs of cans for $10. I'm like, oh shit, that's really good. They had a pineapple pop, and I'm like, okay. So I'm drinking this, and I was like, all right, it's too sweet for me to want to do.
Yeah.
What the fuck can I do with this? And I went, I could make a killer fucking sweet and sour sauce.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So you made sweet and sour sauce with the shit?
Sour sauce with that, and some soy sauce and some other stuff, and it was killer, dude. It was so good. So now's the time to play, to have some fun, to like you said, self-care and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I was like, I want to know what he made. Like,
of course. I was actually thinking about doing like a cooking thing, just for the hell of it. And the only reason why I don't do it is I don't have 20 years of experience cooking. I'm more of like I take care of the house kind of a thing. And, I've learned things over the years, but I'm not a fucking chef. I'm not like,
There's a space for that though. Do you know the comedian Bert Kreischer?
No, I don't.
Okay, he's great. He's hilarious. He has this thing called The Machine, and basically he ended up going to Russia. If you can ever look up The Machine, it's the funniest fucking story ever. Okay. Crazy party story. But anyways, this guy's a crazy dude, and he likes to cook, but he really enjoys just coming home and making stuff. And so he gets together with some of his comedian friends, and he cooks, and it's like, he can make some cool shit, but part of the fun of those videos is also he might fuck this up. Like, there's a chance he can make something amazing, but there's also a chance he's gonna get on a rant, joke around with his friends.
And totally fuck. I've seen people do that before. I was at a barbecue one time, and my buddy was like, making hot dogs, and he kept them on for like way the fuck too long. The hot dogs were fucking black by the time they came off the grill. Because he was so into his conversation, I wanted to be like, "Yo, let me take over." Like, you gotta. It is very much the definition of multitasking and editing too. And it's like what you were saying right when we began this conversation about, like treat it like comics, like homeschooling like comics. That's how I look at cooking. It's like it's the perfect mixture. It's really your brain is working. And to create this production, which is this meal, and I really love that, and having those perfect pairings and doing that. And I'm not knowledgeable of that stuff. Like you, as somebody who has experience cooking, can look at some, like here's what I did last Friday, and this was super fucking lame. This is like totally like ghetto, like this is like fresh off the boat idea. So I had some black beans. I needed to get through them. And I had a can of V8. So I mixed them together and threw them on like a pot for like 20 minutes and threw some spices in there. And it was shit. It was just like, fuck, I totally fucked this up. But my mother-in-law, she really liked it. She like scarfed that shit down. So like the next day I open up my refrigerator and I'm like, there's like half of it was left. And I'm like, fuck, I got to eat this now because like if I don't. And she was like, oh, look, the beans are there. And she like just took it and she fucking ate that shit. I'm like, oh,
You know what I would do with that?
What's that?
So that actually doesn't sound that bad. You could kind of, do you have like an emulsion blender or anything like that?
Yes, I was thinking about that.
So you could blend it, and then you could probably throw some noodles in there.
Yes.
Maybe what that sounds like it needed was some textures. So I bet you if you had some noodles or some like potatoes or something else to kind of fill that void, so it's not just like fucking drinking.
Yeah.
I bet you it would have been a lot better, man.
I actually think I should try that. And here's a question. I use black beans. But I felt like pinto beans would have been better. And if I had salsa, I could have thrown some fucking salsa in there too.
I don't know that the salsa would work. I would almost tell you to use hot sauce. The problem is salsa is that a lot of that's just going to fall to the bottom.
Okay, it's not going to mix in and create a nicer texture.
I don't think it's going to mix in as well. Because it's probably a little more denser than everything else.
Yeah.
I would just use like a hot sauce or something, like a Tapatio or or Frank's, or I'm a Frank's dude, but whatever you end up using. But I would just add some, like I said, some bites to that. So I would throw in like some egg noodles, or even dude, open up a packet of ramen and throw it in there.
Yeah, right.
Any of that stuff, and just like I said, once you've added those extra levels, you kind of want to try to have your layers.
Absolutely. And that's like one of the things what my wife and I have decided to do is we're going shopping like once a month. And so we just blew a shit ton of money on shopping over the weekend. And right now I'm like, I got all the vegetables and fruits and the fresh produce. So I've been enjoying that, but like soon it's going to run out. And then like we're in reserve territory now. And like, anything goes at that point. And, I think that's when you can be the most imaginative, you know what I mean? And I take that the same way with comics too, because, there's a couple projects that I want to take on, and, some of them are kind of like half formed already, and I can't really go back and fix what's already been done. All I can do is move forward with it and try and fix it up to the best of my ability. But, I guess that the interest in cooking has more to do with just the idea of like, oh man, like this is something that engages my mind the same way that comics do. And I don't know why I have such a hard time with my kids. I think it's because they're on a different level. And it's not to say that they have less intelligence, but their brains aren't working that same way, where they need that constant engagement on all fronts. Right now, they're still learning. They're still developing on a consistent basis. And there's certain things that they just can't comprehend yet. Not because they're stupid, but just because they're not at that level. Yeah, it's experience, They haven't been laid yet. That's the problem. They need to get out there and get laid.
Once you're not, you'll get it. You'll get it. Don't worry.
Just don't bring anybody or anything home yet. All right.
Oh yeah.
Get that shit away.
Do that as much for you as you are for me. Yeah, please. Just.
Well, Chuck, it's been a pleasure having you. Why don't you tell us where we can find you? And give us your what should I say? Your victory shout before we end this. Hang on, I'm going to give you the solo layout. There you go, brother.
Ooh, look at this, all this space. All right, man. Chuck Pineau, Pineau. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Chucky Pin. You can find my Chuck's Raw reviews. I would love for you guys to check those out, where I talk about books that I've thoroughly enjoyed. If I don't like it, I don't talk about it. So I would love for you to check out all that. And if you keep an eye on that down the road, you're going to see some Yisu Shin in there. So
rock on, brother.
I got them. My wife bought a buttload of them. You sold them to her at Alamo, so I got a bunch of them. You can also track down Essence House, which is on. You can find essencehousestory.com. That's my audio drama that I do with Eric Cockrell. I have my book Belial. You can find it at facebook.com/Belial book, or sorry, Belial comic. And you can find my publishing wing, Bonfire Press, on Facebook as well. So there's a lot of places to find me if you really want to. If you want to.
Absolutely. And you know what? I hope people will find you on here. It was such a pleasure having you. You are an outstanding guest. I feel like you're really helping me figure out this whole live thing. So thank you so much, Chuck.
Dude, honestly, I think right now, like, you see so many people going live, but you'll figure out really quick who knows how to do it and who doesn't and who wants to learn how to do it. And you can tell, like, you want to do it. You really want to have a good thing with it. Honestly, it's so much fun. And again, like I said, when we're at the table, we're selling the book. But when you're away from the table, you're selling this.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
This is so important. I honestly believe I am no better, and in fact, in some ways worse, than a lot of the other editors who are vying for jobs right now. But I outjob them almost every time, and that's because I'm selling this. Because At the end of the day, I sell this and I sell their book. Because every time you see this face or you hear Chuck Pineau, you go, oh, cool, what's he working on now? He's in that book? Cool, I'm going to pick it up, even if it's not necessarily your thing. So when I do these shows, they're also helping my clients.
Of course.
So, and they're going to help your books and all that. So, guys, sell this. This matters too.
That is excellent advice. Chuck, thank you again, man. I appreciate it, brother. You take care.
Much love, man.
Yeah. Much love. All right, folks. Next week, we got an awesome guest lined up for you. Christian Gossett. He has worked on video games. He's done comics, Star Wars stuff. He's an outstanding dude. We're going to change our time in order to make it easier for him. So we're going to go live a little bit later. But we're also going to be talking about the Final Fantasy VII remake. I've been playing the old Final Fantasy VII on my tablet. I've been kind of like stuck on that for the last like couple weeks in order to get ready for the release of this. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about freelancing a lot more. And he's a very fascinating, interesting guy. Can't wait to have him on the show. And I can't wait to see you guys. And if you're an independent creator and you want to be a part of this and you want to come and chat with me for an hour, just about anything, shooting the shit like Chuck just did, hit me up. I'd love to have you on the show. I'll see you guys next week. And until then, onward to victory.